Hello everyone, my name is Karen Aguilar and I will be presenting the multimodal essay with my fellow group mates, Rana Almugrabi, Ruby Vasquez, and Mia Sanchez. Today we will be delving into the topic of organ donation, specifically to answer the question, what is the best solution to support organ donation shortages? First, let me ask you, have you or do you know someone who has needed an organ transplant? If not, then you most likely do not know what the years-long and daunting process is like. Let us begin with the basics. Here in the United States, over 103,000 people are on the organ donation waiting list. According to the Health Resources and Services Administration, 13 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant. Every 8 minutes, another person is added to the transplant waiting list. Every year, less than half of the people on the waiting list get an opportunity for an organ transplant. Which then begs the question, what is the best solution for organ donation shortages? Today we will be covering in favor of and against the solution, our position on the solution, evidence supporting our position, followed by fallacies, emotional appeal, and interesting findings, and we will close out with our conclusion. And I will leave it to Rana to get us started.
In favor of incentivizing organ donation, according to the article A Competitive Market in Human Organs by Danny Frederick, that financial intensive can help increase organ donation by encouraging more people to sign up as donors. When people know they or their families will receive some support, especially in low-income communities, they may be more willing to donate. This kind of support can also reduce the need of illegal black market activity by giving people a safe and legal option. Most importantly, it still respects personal choice and give individuals the freedom to decide what happened to their own bodies. Against incentivizing organ donation, financial intensive for organ donation raise ethical concern. They may influence the poor and helpless who feel pressure to sell their organs. This approach risks turning organ into a commercial goods instead of keeping donation as a selfless act. It could also reduce voluntary altruistic donation, as people may begin to see it only as a transaction. Additionally, it might lead to unfair distribution, where the wealthy have more access to it. Despite the strong dichotomy between the two perspectives of for and against, we take the position that incentives such as compensation or health benefit should be offered to increase organ donation rates. This solution can save more lives, reduce black market activity, and support donors and their families in a fair and ethical way. Now we will move to Karen with the evidence.
I'll begin with stating the obvious. The current system is a failure, especially for patients with late-stage organ failure, and the waiting list is something that probably gives these patients zero to little hope of receiving an organ transplant, because the demand is much too high and the waiting list is absurdly long. The solution we are supporting can be seen to some people as ethically questionable because it could exploit people who have a low or extremely low socioeconomic status. But with our position, the incentives we speak of would not contain any direct payments. According to an article by Erkin Avci titled, "Should we formulate an incentivized model facilitating kidney donation from living donors?" which proposes a model called IKDM, or Incentivized Kidney Donation Model. The proposed model suggests incentives such as lifetime health insurance, exemptions from co-payments, contribution shares, priority when receiving an organ donation, priority when finding a job, income tax exemptions for salaried employees, and free or discounted public utilities. And all these incentives would be allocated in a way regardless of economic and social status. The incentivized model would not only increase living donor donations, but also significantly reduce the causes that force donors and patients to engage in organ trafficking, transplant tourism, and organ commercialism. Our position would focus on saving lives, not on profit. And I'll leave it to Ruby to continue on with more evidence.
To continue with evidence, I will begin with stating 4 main points that support our position. From an article by Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network called Ethics, Financial Incentives for Organ Donation. First point, saving lives is the goal. Supporters of giving money for organ donations say their main goal is to help save lives and reduce suffering. They want to test this idea through small programs called pilot programs to see if it works. Second point, weighs potential benefits of incentives. The article acknowledges arguments in favor of incentives. For instance, compensation for donors could increase supply. It might reduce waiting list deaths. Offers recognition for the sacrifice donors make. This helps inform the idea that monetary incentives might be part of a balanced solution if done ethically. Point 3. Considers alternative models. The article reviews non-cash incentives like tax breaks, funeral expenses, health insurance benefits, which are more ethically acceptable. This is key when evaluating what type of monetary incentive works best while avoiding direct payments that raise ethical red flags. Point number 4, there is a big organ shortage. The article explains that there are not enough organs for all the people who need them. This shows why it's important to look at all possible ways to increase donations, including offering money. Moving on to more evidence. In the article from the Developing World Bioethics, should we formulate an incentivized model facilitating kidney donation from living donors? It is a focus on Turkey's current system. Evidence number 1, exploration of incentivized models. It explores the idea of using incentives to encourage living kidney donations, a concept that is controversial but increasingly discussed in countries like the US. In the US, financial incentives for organ donation are currently legal under the National Organ Transplant Act of 1984. But the article invites policymakers to reconsider whether carefully regulated incentive models could help address the shortage. Evidence number 2, ethical and legal considerations. The Turkish context analysis includes ethical debates around commodification of the body, exploitation, and equity, issues mirrored in the US. The article adds depth to the ongoing US debate by presenting an international perspective on how these challenges might be balanced with the urgent need for more donors. Although some people incentivize models risk ethical harm and are not the best way to address organ shortages, however, our position would be structured in a way that evades the risk for ethical harm by incentivizing without direct payments, but in other ways that were mentioned in the previous slide by Karen.
The following slides for fallacies, emotional appeal, and interesting findings were curated by our group mate Mia Sanchez, but she is not present for this recording, so we will move on to the conclusion with Rana.
And then in conclusion, organ donation is not just a medical issue, it's moral and social one. Every day, lives are lost, not because we lack the tools to save them, but because we lack the donors. Whether through the thoughtful incentives or changing how we talk about organ donation, we have the power to make a difference. So we will leave you with this question. What do you think is the best solution to support organ donation shortages?
Thank you, and here is our works cited.